right, what is going on, everybody? It's your host, Fermi. I'm pumped up today. You know, I've gotten some amazing mail to the Instagram DM, through email. Super excited that so many of you are enjoying what we are putting together for you here at the Music Producers Treasure Box and all of the amazing talent that we have been able to broadcast over the show into your ears so that you can learn about some of the hottest artists in so many different styles of electronic music. Today, I've got an extra special guest, and that is my man Loelash, coming all the way to us from London. The man actually immigrated there from Italy, and now he is rocking it alongside some of the top beat makers in that beat making scene, which we all know is huge in London. Before we get into today's episode, though, I do want to give a shout out to our show's sponsor, and that is MySphera. They have sponsored some shows before, and I really appreciate everything that they are doing for music creators out there who want to get their music in front of people who are tastemakers, who are playlist builders, and who can really help maximize your reach as an artist. If you follow the link in the show notes, you can figure out how you can get your music published through MySphera and potentially hitting the ears of many more people out there through tastemakers and playlist builders. Check it out. I've used their services myself, and I have to say they've helped me get my stuff on to some different playlists that have definitely gotten more exposure for my tracks, especially songs like K-Rad, which got on a ton of different playlists thanks to their work. All right, with that said, it's time to get into some super duper califragilistic magical music with my man Loelash. In a number of times on this episode, I start talking about fairy dust and how I feel that I am walking through a magical enchanted garden when I'm listening to this guy's stuff. He calls it future beat, but he definitely admits it's infused with all different kinds of styles. And his new EP, Prisma, with 5 different tracks that fuse funk, jazz, classical, electronic, future beats, future bass, all that is just outstanding. You guys have to check it out. I play clips of the album on this show, but as always, please go check out the whole songs. I can only do like 20 to 30 seconds each time when I'm on the show featuring people's stuff, but I want you to follow up with them if you like what you hear, and definitely check the whole track out. That track, by the way, that we opened up with of his is releasing today exclusively on Bandcamp. Again, I will drop that link down below so that you can figure out where you can listen to more. All right, I've talked enough. Let's get into my man Loelash's interview with me all the way from London. Let's go. All right, my man Loelash is here. I got into his music. It sounded like jazz mixed with electronic with a little bit of fairy dust sprinkled on top. And I had to get this guy on the show.
Yo. How you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
Welcome in, dude. I hope you like that little fairy dust part, because I'm serious. You bring a lot of different sounds together in your music, and I feel like I'm walking through a magic enchanted garden on some of these songs from your new EP, Prisma, especially the intro, Silky Thorns. It's got something magical about it for sure, but it does touch all of your tunes. And I was hoping you could come today and just share with us the inspirations and the stories behind this new EP. What is it all about, man?
Okay, so let's say I collided with Future Beats not long ago, because we're gonna talk about it. Like the music scene in Italy is so different from here that when I kind of got into the London music scene, completely blew me away.
Yeah,
with so many different genres that I'd never heard about at the time, and I discovered this whole future beat thing, and of course selection, people like Monty Booker, people like Kate Tronada, Sam Galatri, Sango, all of these producers like completely, opened me up, from head to toes. There was just like a complete different like type of music that I never heard before. Like I grew up on classical, both of my parents are classical musicians and teachers, and jazz and fusion and crossover and a bit of rock. And then I got into electronic music and hip hop myself. But that stuff, it's not really a thing in Italy.
yeah.
So I only discovered it when I came to London, which was almost 4 years ago.
Nice. So this album is really like a foray into that sound, playing with the future-based sound, all the artists that have been inspiring you moving to London. and just really an homage to all that?
Yeah, you can definitely say that.
Yeah. I
That's
saw
right.
that you were trained in classical music, that I think you were a saxophone player, and that you made a move at some point from Italy to London. Talk to us about those musical roots and the idea and the fact of being Italian now in England. What is this all about?
I don't know if you're aware of it, but there's like a million Italians in London. So if you bring 8 people in a room,
Yeah.
one of them is Italian. Like it's
Okay.
unbelievable. Like go out and I walk in the streets of London everywhere. Like there hasn't been one day when I didn't hear someone speaking in Italian. It's crazy. Like we
Yeah.
all moved here. It's yeah, it's definitely a thing. In fact, yeah, 4 years ago, late 2015, I had like a lot of friends here from my very hometown. People that I went to high school with, maybe like a bit older than me, and they all moved here before me. Yeah, it's just how can I say? I left Italy.
Yeah.
That means that I just don't wanna, talk bad about, the music scene in my country, but I had to leave because I know there wasn't like space for, there's the thing is there's not like a beat maker scene.
Right. Okay.
You guys know in America,
Yeah.
as people from the UK know about like the beat maker scene, even in London, which is huge.
Yeah.
I know people that are trying to, make the place in LA that closed a few months ago.
Low end theory?
The low end theory that was in LA. There are people, some of my friends that are trying to create the same thing here in London,
Awesome.
and it's actually working. Like the scene is growing and growing, and I've been part of this collective called LAB, Life Aesthetic Beats. They have this night called Beat Meet. That it's like a monthly night, like producer showcases and DJ sets and open mic ciphers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for like 3 or 4 years, and I just started to like go out like with them and go to their nights like 2 years ago, and I'm telling you, like it's already growing. Last month they had people from Boiler Room,
Yeah.
like guests and stuff, and it's just this doesn't really happen in Italy, man, and it's really sad. Right before I left, I was already listening to like people like J Dilla, Premier, Pete Rock. I was more into like old school back in the day, Ninth Wonder, all those guys. I was dreaming on, first singing them live, which is the first thing that I did when I moved there, and then just, meet like-minded people, other producers that I could like, share knowledge of music production, with, and just, grow together, inspire each other.
That's dope, man. I think that that's cool to hear that the low end theory type vibe is going to start there in England, that's going on. And as you're speaking, it made me wonder. You said that 1 out of 8 people in a room might be Italian, but I'm wondering in London, how many out of 8 are beat makers if you put them in a room? So like 4 out of 8?
That's a tough one. Actually, yeah, you might be right. Like pretty much half the people.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That means that it's a creative scene, that there's a lot of great events going on, a lot of great ideas bouncing off of each other, and probably a lot of great collaborations in the works as well. Makes me want to grab my flight from San Francisco right over to London, man. It sounds exciting to be a part of that.
It definitely is. It's just, as I said, like we're all inspiring each other, right? Every time I go out and I meet producers that now I can call friends,
Yeah.
which is even more amazing, It's just like I come back home after the whole night and I just don't want to go to sleep. I just want to make music.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what this is all about, and why I moved to London. And I knew it would have been like this because this is such a vibrant city, where people are passionate and actually fight for what they want. Most times they obtain it. They get it. They get what they want.
So I think that brings up an interesting thing that I would love to get your opinion on. A lot of people now, this day and age, because of the internet, will tell you you can be anything from anywhere. Like it doesn't matter if you're in New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, London, any of these big cities, Singapore, wherever, that you could be maybe in a small town in the US and still do well in music. You probably can, but I think you're kind of proving that other aspect of how important it is to get to a big market where the scene is vibrant, and just how powerful that is and how impactful that is on you as a creative. What's your opinion on this? Like, obviously, I know which side you're on because you're in London, but do you hear people saying that kind of stuff?
This makes me think about how many times I just, thought like, okay, the internet is what it is. I'm kind of getting every day how it works. Could I have done all this from my hometown, which is a small city near Milan in Italy? I say yeah, but no. Like, at the end of the day, no. Because, of course, I would have, kept making music
Yeah.
as I'm doing now, but then where would I have gone to play? I wouldn't have gotten any gigs,
Yeah.
because it's just not happening. So all my music would have gone to SoundCloud and all that, as it is doing now. But then what? Finding someone who helped me, finding, booking agent or manager, whatever, even an audience. If I was in Italy, my audience would have been in the internet from all over the world, but in Italy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sure every day I'm getting even more sure that if I stayed in Italy, I would have switched my style.
Right. Yeah, I think you probably got a lot of inspiration from people around you that you never would have known, right? So the style might have been different, the sound might have been different. I think, yeah, you could have been successful, you would have done good things, but this is probably the optimal way to go. So for all the listeners out there, if you can't move to a big city, that is not the end of the world. But I think Loelash's story, and even my own, is that when you get into these metropolitan cities where there's art scenes, where there's creatives, musicians, clubs, different venues, and different agencies like your booking agency that can help you, you are just going to have power in numbers and be able to scale faster. So speaking of this, talk to me about the new Prisma EP and the fact that I heard you had an amazing release party in London just maybe a few weeks ago or last week.
Yeah, that was on the 19th of July, so 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
It feels like ages ago, months ago. Then I went for 2 weeks in holiday and I completely plugged off right after. Like, I played on a Friday. I went to see Selection on a Saturday at Somerset House, central London. And then on Sunday, I left the country. I went back to Italy for 2 weeks. So it completely spaced me out. It feels like months ago, but it was amazing. It was a full house. It was people from the industry, friends, fellow producers, musicians. It was just an amazing night, man. I felt like, as always, when these kind of events happen, felt like being a big family, of musicians and music lovers, passionate, and
Right.
pretty much. The Prism EP was ready a good year ago. So August 2018, the project was ready.
Okay, so you wrote all the songs back in 2018.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, from April to August, late July, August. I'd say well, of course, it's my first EP, but it's the first project that I can actually relate to.
Yeah.
It's the first music that I can say, that's me,
Yeah.
100%. Even though now I'm already switching style, not style, but my style is kind of going through a kind of a metamorphosis, but I can still say that's me. And I think it's a big milestone, in a musician, producer, whatever journey, because that's the first point where you can say, okay, so this is the starting point, and now I can move, but at least there is a starting point, and people know you from that sound.
Yeah.
And then they can relate to the whole journey of your sound. But at least there's a starting point, from everyone.
Right.
Yeah, 5 tracks, all future beats, but there's a few genres infused. You can find, of course, jazz, Brazilian music, bossa nova, samba kind of thing. I'd say you can find some funk, of course, electronic, a little bit of classical, not too much. Yeah, it's just a big pot with a lot of genres inside, and I'm really happy I've got to release it.
Yeah, man. I
EDM.
mean, I can't believe that you're listing off all these different styles, and we're talking about five tracks, five songs
Yeah.
that are fusing together all these different things that you listed off. And it's done quite masterfully, quite magically, I should also say. Because, like I said, they just really flow. I feel like I'm walking through the enchanted forest on a couple of the tracks, and they're light and airy, but at the same time, they also have a nice, solid bass line. I heard that you are pretty much a classically trained saxophone player as well as a bass player.
Yeah, classical saxophone and piano on the side.
Yeah.
Back home, that was back in Italy and in my hometown. And then I just studied bass guitar with like a friend of my dad, who's a 666 sick bass guitarist. And he just taught me a little bit, and then I just kept playing. But I'm not playing as much now because I got like a Moog 2 years ago, and I'm using bassline. I'm using that for bassline.
Were a lot of the
That's
bass lines
just
on this Prisma EP actually live bass guitar that you played, or were they synth or a combination?
they were all Moog from my
Okay.
Moog
Got it.
Sub Fatty. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one
Yeah, I
of my
saw you playing the
bases.
Sub Fatty. I think you have a video for your release party, and you were performing a lot of the
Oh,
tracks,
yes.
and you had all your instruments there.
Yes,
Cool.
that's one of them. One of the most important, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope though. But it
Yeah.
definitely sounds like I guess I didn't realize it. It definitely at least one of the tracks I thought you had live bass in there, but no, it's all from the Moog. Wow.
Yeah, because they worked on the sound design, of course, to make it feel like
Yeah.
like a live bass guitar.
Yeah.
In the EP, maybe I used like a kind of 808 kind of sound, but on the first part of the intro of
Yeah.
Circuit Tones, the very first part, you can hear like an 808 kind of sound,
Yeah.
but all the rest is just really, short release, fast attack. So kind of picked, to replicate kind of a
Yeah, like I
live
think
bass
on the
guitar.
track that you have, the second song, Commas, is one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, yes, exactly. Especially in the second drop.
Yeah.
It gets like double tempo, so even faster, and that's yeah. That's the vibe that I wanted to give.
That's
you know.
dope. Well, I definitely wanted our listeners to check out one of your tracks from the EP, and I wanted to feature a track called Space Samba. What is this song about to you, and what would you like the listeners to know about this track?
As I said, I grew up listening to a lot of jazz and classical, and especially bossa nova. For those who don't know, it's like the Brazilian kind of take on jazz. Let's say it's a fusion between jazz and samba, and it started in the late '60s when George Gilberto, who passed away like a few weeks ago in July, was like kind of making like a weird fusion of jazz and the Brazilian kind of type of music, which was samba. So I listened to a lot of like his music and Antonio Jobim and all these guys, Caetano Veloso and all these guys, and I just wanted to make like a track of the EP that kind of was getting the vibes from those guys.
Yeah.
So one day I just started like listening to some of them, picked up like a piano synth from Native Instrument, kind of like playing the kind of stuff, added some like percussion kind of thing, and then I added the classic like future beats drop. So that's why Space Samba,
That's
because
dope.
the intro is like a samba kind of thing, but then when there's the drop, like it's kind of like future-y, kind of spacey kind of sounds.
Yeah.
So that's why.
All right, well, let's get into the track. Let's let everybody hear a little bit of that intro with the drop. Space Samba from the Prisma EP from Loelash. Let's go. when I was looking up stuff for the show, I checked out you actually have the YouTube channel with just one video, I think, or something. But you have this track, you're performing it live, you're busting out the saxophone for certain parts of the song. Thought that was really awesome, man. And it was cool to see you bringing in kind of how you started out in music and then bringing that in to this. But I've got to ask you, how do you think the classical music part fits into what you're doing now as a beat maker? How does that work with this?
It definitely opened up my understanding of the whole music, this whole music game, you know.
Yeah.
It was like classical music, it was there from the beginning. Like everything that we listen to now, pop-wise, as in popular music, so, you know, hip-hop, electronic, whatever genre, it all comes from classical.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, from classical and from blues, but even blues. Yeah, these two massive genres, which are classical and blues. And what we listen to now is kind of a fusion of these two.
I never thought of that.
Of course, evolved in the years, and it definitely helped me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like studying classical definitely helped me. Understanding of the theory, of music theory, of you know all these things.
I feel like it must be like those people who study Latin and you're not really sure what's going on. Why are you studying Latin? But then you realize that it's the root of all the different Romantic and Latin-based languages. So you have like an edge when it comes to chords and progressions and just all the music theory.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, of course, you can learn music theory without studying classical. Of course, like I'm not saying, but you can get like a deeper understanding. You know?
That's awesome.
Like when I was studying like music harmony, I had to like analyze like operas. So like getting to know whatever chords was going on and like all the rules that the composers were applying to classical music at the time, and then all got like all the composers like in the 16th century or like the 17th century, there were some rules. Then the composers later on they just broke to open up more like the music, you know, and the whole understanding of the whole thing. So pretty much it's all an evolution, you know. Yeah. We'll still I consider all beat makers and musicians now will still bringing the music to a next level. Basically.
That's awesome. I love that, but I do have a feeling that a lot of beat makers that you run into, because no one's ever said this to me before, realize that the current music is all stemming from classical. I mean, that is the first time I've heard that statement, bro. But
well, pretty much. I mean, of course, like we're saying like 500 years of music. So it's a very, 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 very long time. Yeah, that's what I believe. Like classical and blues. Yeah, I'd say, because then jazz. True. Is from blues, and then you know, rock from blues, and then funk from rock, and pretty much
That's great, though. That's great insights. I really appreciate that. And I think you're right? It's gone through a lot of evolutions. There's been a lot of changes. There's been different influences that have come out of it or maybe come into it from, you know, native stuff or from just other areas of the world, right? But it's all stemming from that when you really look back. That is super cool. So, hey, tell me a little bit about how you actually produce your tracks. You started to get into it a little bit. What does it look like when you actually get into the studio? What are you doing first? Do you have a certain like methodology that you use? Do you start with the melody? Do you start with drums, bass? What is the Loelash method?
The Loelash method is that there's no method.
I like that. Okay. That's the method in and of itself.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't really have it depends like what I feel like. If let's put it this way, chords are the most important thing in a track. So if the chords don't click with me, like I might as well trash the project straight away. Bye. I'm done.
So you work on chords a lot of time first?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. But sometimes I make drums first so I can groove with the chords easily, you know, more easily. Like to just get the rhythm with the chords, because sometimes I just work on chords and I record like a 4 or 8 bars with chords,
Yeah.
and then I work on drums. I look for samples and I record like a drum set basing on the rhythm that I play with chords.
Mm-hmm.
And then what comes out is something I don't really like. So I usually like work on chords, don't record anything, and then start from the drums, and then record the chords on top.
Right.
So I have the tone with the drums that I like, and then I can groove on something.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of tips
It's
do you
just
have for musicians to figuring all that out when it comes to like structuring the song as well? Because I know a lot of people get stuck just having a loop. They really don't know how to do the drop or how to build up some tension in the track. But you have these songs that really evolve. It doesn't like change to the point where it sounds like a different song. Some producers do that, but it just like slowly starts changing, evolving, and morphing.
most times in my tracks, when, as you said, like they evolve,
Hmm.
most of the times this whole evolving thing is based on sound design.
Yeah.
So I started to, stretch my loops,
Mm.
because of course I used to make loops and just get stuck on loops.
Hmm.
That used to happen a lot. But then I was kind of able to stretch the loop and into songs thanks to sound design.
Yeah.
So like changing the sound of like the synth
Hmm.
and change it from like a pad to like a pluck, or like from, yeah, so like reducing, like working on envelopes a
Hmm.
lot, so like using like pads and like long release sounds as a build up, and then like reducing it and then make it like more of a plucky song for a drop, which is more like,
Yeah.
there's more silence,
Mm.
so it makes it more like bouncy. I don't
Yeah.
know how to say it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Definitely.
yeah, definitely tips working on a sound design. Instead of like trying to record different chords or different melodies for different parts, keep the same thing and work on a sound.
Mm. That's a good tip,
The
man.
sound. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I do, you know.
Yeah. Do you have any like go-to instruments, whether it's VSTs or hardware? You already talked a little bit about the Moog. You love going with that. Sub Fatty, I believe.
Yes, I'm a big fan of native instruments.
Hmm.
So actually Prisma, the name comes from a native instrument plugin
Oh, really?
called Prism.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's named after that.
Yeah, it's named after that because I use that synth in every track.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
His secret sauce is given away in the title, y'all. I love that.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't even planned.
Yeah.
Like, made the 5 tracks, I put them together, and then I realized, okay,
Yeah. That's the
might
commonality.
might as well, yeah. And then I came out with the whole kind of Prisma thing, stone, and the whole thing of the artwork. But yeah,
That's
that
dope.
came from the synth, pretty
Cool.
much. The
So big
VST.
fan of the native instruments, big fan of your Moog. And what DAW do you use?
Logic.
Okay.
Logic to produce an Ableton for live sets.
Oh, okay. That's a good insight right there. I was wondering about that because I saw you in a little short clip video of your release party, doing an awesome performance. And obviously, Logic doesn't really aid itself too well to performing. So you actually produce in one DAW and purposely perform in a total different one. What's the reason for that? Why don't you just produce in Ableton, for instance?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. Logic is really good for produce, is not as good for live set,
Yeah.
but it's because I studied with Logic. So I came to London to study at Point Blank Music School,
Hmm.
which I believe there's one in LA as well. Then they opened one in Ibiza as well. And I did a whole course about Logic,
Yeah.
because I was using Logic back in Italy as well. I
Hmm.
started using Logic back in 2012.
Yeah.
But then, when I had some music ready and I was thinking, oh, okay, so how am I gonna perform that? Because I'm not gonna DJ with that.
Yeah.
And then, I saw all these people like FKJ, other producers that they perform live, Masigo, they all use Ableton.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I might as well teach myself how
Yeah.
to use this. So powerful, and just keeping it for life's sake, because I don't want to dig too deep. Like, I've already spent so much time trying to learn Logic since, to the point that I know everything about it. I
Yeah.
don't want to do the same forever, because that would be just, But I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Maybe later.
I might just leave Logic and just stay in Ableton to produce and let live set.
Yeah.
Because I know it might be kind of a waste of time, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, your sound is well developed. You know how to use Logic, probably like the back of your hand. So, why spend the time learning Ableton to produce and go all in depth when you could have made like 10 songs while you're learning Ableton to produce, you know? So, I can definitely feel that, man. But at the same time, that's just so interesting. And I think it does illustrate the one edge that Ableton does have, which is that live performance piece. So, for all the listeners out there, I think that's one thing. If you are maybe a new musician and you don't really know the difference between the two, Logic doesn't really have a way to perform live, at least not that I've heard of or seen, other than just pressing play. And that's actually my go-to production tool as well. But definitely Ableton has, the ability to perform live, and that's what a lot of folks use out there.
yes. Before Ableton, I used to use another Apple application for
Hmm.
live set, which I don't remember. I never remember the name. When you open it, it kind of looks like GarageBand, but I can't remember the name of the app.
Okay.
I used to use that for like a few months, and then I stopped working on live stuff, and I kind of then it happened my kind of switch in my style,
Yeah.
and the Loelash thing was born, and then a few months later I started like using Ableton for live sets basically.
Well, I heard that there was a deep story to one of your tracks that you had released as a single ahead of the EP, and that's the track Myrtle. I always love when songs have stories because I think that those are just so meaningful to everybody to hear. And obviously, it gives them an insight into what you're thinking about when you produce the track and now when you hear that song. So tell us about that track. What's the meaning behind this one?
That was done on the day of my birthday
Mm-hmm.
last year. Actually, no, was released the day of my birthday, 30th of November, 2018. Was done like a couple of weeks before that, and it was the day that my grandma passed away, and she's called Mirta.
Mm.
So that's the Italian name, of course, and I translated into like the English version. So she was called like the plant, like the flower,
Yeah.
basically. And nothing. I just blasted out the track in one day.
Wow.
Boom, all of it. Yeah. I was like super inspired. As soon as I got off the phone with my dad, she said like the sad news. Boom. I just opened Logic and boom. Didn't eat. Didn't do anything else. Boom. I just blasted out the track. And I think it's the first. No, actually not, because that was after Prisma. Because Prisma was late in August. This happened in November. But I decided to just put it away, like put it out straight away,
Yeah.
because I just thought it was right. And I knew that Prisma would have, been released later in the year, maybe the next year, and that's what happened actually. But I was like, yeah, let's just go,
Dope.
put it out. And so it's got all that meaning behind it, yeah.
Sounds like it was like divine inspiration. It just came to you and through you. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear about the loss with the sad news, but I think it just touches on the emotional elements of music, right? This is an emotional art. It is not just a sport that people are doing to make money or whatever. And it can be fun, but it's also it's all about that emotion and all about that passion. And it really came through you on this one, man.
I think music, it can be like a powerful, outcome, as in you can let off a lot of steam
For sure.
by making music. Then it depends, of course, what's going on with your life while you're making music.
Hmm.
But I know of a lot of people, they use it as a good antidepressant kind
Absolutely.
of, way to balance out all your stuff that's going on in your life, which can be bad and good, But
Yeah.
it's definitely helpful. Music is a powerful thing, definitely. It's the best thing in the world, I'd say. Best thing in my life, for sure. but it's powerful. It's really powerful.
Absolutely. Let's check out the track right now. Here it goes. Myrtle, one of the singles. Check it out on Spotify. This is Loelash's track right here. Let's go. All right. Well, definitely want everybody out there to check out Loelash music. Loelash, where can they find out more about you? Where can they hear the tracks?
So let me first give like a big shout out to my man Miracle on Instagram, SoundCloud, MYRKYL. He did both of the artworks for Myrtle and for Space Samba. Mad talent. He does like glitch art kind of stuff, and he's a sick musician, producer, engineer, and all that. That being said, you can find me on all socials as Loelash, Loelash. So SoundCloud, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Facebook. I have some stuff on Deezer as well. I mean, all the tracks are on Deezer as well. Amazon Music, I believe, Google Play. Yeah, but
I guess the other question too is like, what do you got in the chamber, bro? What do you got coming at us next? What should we be expecting?
Yes. So, well, in October, I've got my first gig overseas.
Nice.
That will be in Bordeaux, in France, and I'm gonna be opening for Illa J.
Nice. It's gonna be dope.
Jay Dilla's little brother. Yeah,
Jay Dilla's brother. Yeah, that's awesome.
Super excited for that. Always working on like gigs in London, of course, DJ gigs because I DJ as well. Sometimes with my own music, sometimes just clubs and bars and venues. As I said, I have a second EP in the works. 4 tracks out of 5 are ready, almost, I'd say. So we're looking potentially 2020.
Nice.
To put it out. And yeah, that's a complete different vibe from Prisma.
Awesome. Well, I cannot wait to hear, and I'm going to keep following you. I definitely recommend all my guests and listeners out there, check this guy out, follow him. There's a lot of great images, a lot of great tracks coming out, whether you're following on Instagram or on Spotify. Can't wait to see some pictures of you with Illa J. Can't wait to hear new tracks, although I'm not done listening to these other ones yet, okay?
Yo, thank you very much. Shouts to you, bro, for having me and for all this. It's been nice, very, very, very nice. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Peace. All right. Well, hey, we all heard it. The guy has a lot to say and a lot of insight into music and music theory. I love that he talked us through exactly how he thinks through his tracks and the importance of sound design in everything that he's doing. As he talks about in the show, he doesn't just focus on chords and progressions and all that all the time. A lot of the times he's using the same sounds, really laying that right out with some different sound design elements going on in order to flip it and keep it interesting, keep it evolving, and honestly make really interesting metamorphoses in his tracks. By the way, is that a word? I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. Metamorphosy, they're changing. One thing that really resonated with me as well in this is something that people, in the academic field might call the proximity principle. And what I mean by that is we live in an amazing age, right? You can get access to so much knowledge. You can get access to so many people through the internet. If you're leveraging it correctly, I'm telling you, it is like you are in many places at once, and your arms extend across the entire globe. However, me and Loelash, we had talked about in the episode, it actually matters where you are at. So I do encourage everybody out there to really consider, how big is your reach truly when it comes to the internet and all of that. Leverage that to the hilt. But when you are thinking about possibly making a bigger move in your career, when you are thinking about maybe taking advantage of education in order to relocate, I highly suggest it. In fact, that's how I ended up in California myself. I came out for college and I never left. because of my proximity to so many people in so many different fields, whether it's in technology, art, or music. And this has been a huge advantage, a huge blessing that I would not give up for anything else. Even when I travel from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which I do quite frequently, the experience is different on, who you interact with, whether they're Silicon Valley types or more of the entertainers. Where you are at is highly important. And even though I encourage you to be resourceful wherever you are, I also want you to consider going to where the resources are and use that same ingenuity and resourcefulness even further and with even more appreciation for everything that's available to you. That was just my little tidbit of information. I wanted to pull that out. My man Loelash had a lot of great tracks. Follow up with him. And also, as always, follow up with me at Fermi_music at Instagram. I want to give a special shout out to an artist that had reached out to me just this week by the name of Lucid Theory. Yo, I was digging your tracks, man, and I'm really glad that what you have been hearing on the Music Producers Treasure Box has been positive for you, has been influential for you, and that you've enjoyed the dope range of producers on here. I'm totally excited that you're looking forward to the future episodes that I've got coming, because I'll tell you what, I am too, and the ones that I've already recorded, I know will blow your socks off. Much love to you, my man, Lucid Theory. Thank you so much. All right, with that, let's head out with one more track by Loelash. Peace.